What happens when two seasoned business leaders get together? They talk shop, of course. Sit back and listen in as Scott DeLong and Vince Moiso share from their experience around current issues facing executives, entrepreneurs, and their leadership teams. The CEO Podcast starts now.
Hey everybody, Scott DeLong with the CEO Podcast. I'm here as usual with Vince Moiso, and we got Bonni Pomush with us from Working Wardrobe. Bonnie's the CEO, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and what the organization is about. But I will tell you that this episode is about a CEO coming in to take over from a founder that started an organization from scratch, built it up to huge numbers in 31 years. Huge numbers for a local charity, at least, right? It's not a national place, but it is a well-run, was well-managed organization, and you got stuck, or you got the opportunity. How are we going to do that of taking over from an owner? So I think that there's a unique story in there that we want to hear a little bit about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Working Wardrobes first, and then we can get into the story.
Absolutely. Working Wardrobes was founded in 1990 by Jerry Rosen, who really wanted to create an opportunity for women who were living in domestic violence shelters to have a day of esteem, a day where they felt worthy and like there was a promise of a new tomorrow. And she invited some of her friends with her to create that day. And they got hooked on helping, I think. And that was really the beginnings of Working Wardrobes. I think the story is really the power of one person to be able to make a difference and to invite and influence and motivate other people to own their power to make a difference in the world. So 31 years later, we had helped over 110,000 clients at that point. Wow. And you're right, Scott, across really Southern California. In the pandemic, yes, we were able to help some people nationally, but we have not scaled to that size yet. We are a 40-member staff and a little over $6 million budget. We're located in Santa Ana, but we have an interesting model where we are funded through three real sources, which is very different, right? We have resale shops. We have, as you would expect with any nonprofit, fund development. And then we have contracts where we are a service provider to the government and other agencies that need help getting people ready for work. So what we do is we create individualized employment plans with people, and we help them literally build bridges over any barrier that they are facing that is literally a barrier to them becoming employed. Yeah. So we help with everything from assessments, what tools do you have, what jobs do you want to pursue, to what's the goal, and then what do we need to do to get you there. So that could be training, certifications, resume building, interview prep, everything you can imagine on the inside that you can't see, right? And once that development process is complete and a person has that interview, then we make the final touch.
They look the part.
Exactly. We literally suit them up in a success suit. They have a personal shopping experience, and it's very much like the roots of Working Wardrobes where it all began, right? That exterior is going to match that updated interior, that this person has been transformed on the inside, and now the outside matches. We have this exterior appearance, right, that's somewhat a reflection of what's on the inside. And it's that final touch that also done with dignity and respect to help people really achieve their goals. And those changes in the individual changes a family, it changes a community, it changes, one person at a time, the world. So small stuff.
I want to go back because we're going to talk about your taking over the role, but when you mentioned the funding model, that was the thing that really interested me originally with the organization. A lot of nonprofits will either go out to the grants or they'll go out to the donations, but it's the social enterprise piece that really ties that in. And the advantage of that, one, more complications, right? Trying to run a business and do grants and get funding. But the advantage of that I see is that there's not just one master. So if you're all into grants, or the nonprofits out there that are just saying, we're going to go get grants, right? You are beholden to the government or whoever granting agency. If you're going to the donations, you are beholden to the donors and their whims and wills. But adding the social enterprise piece, the business portion, the selling, the clothing stores that you operate, kind of frees you up from that.
It's a diversified portfolio,
It's
right?
wonderful.
Yeah.
It is. For any nonprofit that I work with and talk about, I actually work towards getting that social enterprise piece. They go there last because it's the hardest one to do.
Sure.
But it's one that's going to be for sustainability. I actually learned it from the folks at Homeboy Industries. Right?
Exactly.
Great
Yes.
model.
Yes.
Right? Wonderful. And they will sustain forever because of that model.
Yes, and
And I
they're
think-
also in the workforce development business,
That's
right?
right, that's
Helping
right.
people overcome barriers
That's
on the
right.
way to self-sufficiency.
Well, the name of the business is interesting to me, and the brand, Working Wardrobes, right, which is what you talked about in the last part, which is that focus on that exterior. And frankly, I'm sure, I mean, we all feel it. I don't care who you are. When you look good, you feel good, and you have a presence. It can change your state of mind. We have a podcast that's just dedicated to that. We talk about the presence. Especially if you're looking at a leadership role, or you're looking at jumping into a business or a management role, or anything really, is like the way you present yourself is hugely important. And when you look good on the outside, you feel good on the inside. You're just maximizing your opportunity to get in front of somebody and present yourself in the way that you want. You want others to see you in the way that you see yourself at that moment. And I think the way you look is important. So I love that being the essence of it. I have a question to follow up with that, though, is, so what I heard you say, is the company was founded 30 some odd years ago. It was focused on women that were victims of domestic violence. I'm sure that has changed over time. So who is the target market today? I'm assuming it includes men and women.
Yes.
Veterans and who
Yes.
else? Who are we talking about?
I'm so glad you asked, because sometimes it's not so obvious, right? What those barriers are that people are facing.
Yeah.
Yes, all adults, all individuals, really. Anyone who is seeking to get a job, really, they could be a client. We are seeing a huge rise in the re-entry population, people who have been involved in the justice system. In fact, we take our show on the road, if you will, and we provide services in jail so that when individuals get out, they have already that leg up, that path, that runway is laid.
Yeah.
We help, as you said, veterans. There is a huge transition from military service to civilian work.
Yeah.
And we don't just help the veterans, we help their families. So if you're the spouse of a military service person, we are helping you too. We help seniors, low-income seniors. This was really prevalent during the pandemic, right? We helped a lot of people even just get online and experience life when everything was shut down, right? To learn the skills of how to use a computer and even get a computer. When we were shut down and childcare was an issue, yes, we were helping a larger portion of women be able to get back into the workforce. But those are some of our target populations,
So I'm going to shift gears then, and let's talk about legacy. So it's no small feat. I mean, you've been around 32 years, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to give it up to the founder of the business, and I don't care if you're nonprofit or if you're for profit. You've been around 32 years. You've done something right.
Totally.
I mean, you just have,
Yes.
right? And clearly there's some legacy there. I hear it in your voice and your passion around it. So there's legacy that it's hard to step into that role. I know. I mean, so I'm currently running a business where it's a 30-year-old business. One of the founders, the original founders, is still active in the business, and he acts as CEO. I'm president of the business, and so we're working together at that level. And there's a lot of legacy in this business, and yet times are different right now, and so no question that in the last 5+ years, the business has had to adjust and adapt to the market and the economy and even the business itself. I mean, I look at it like this. I think of, I've lived in my home for 25+ years, but say call it 20 years. I don't know, somewhere around there. But you can accumulate a lot of shit over 20 years in your house. And it's no different in a business, So you've been in a business for 30 years, and there's just stuff. Whether you're talking about physical or whatever, right? We can be talking esoterically too.
Yeah.
And so how have you overcome that? What are the challenges, and what has been great about this transition for you coming into your leadership role?
Yeah. Well, I think there's two things. There's an incredible, thoughtful transition process that Jerry and the board crafted, and that really laid the foundation for my success. And I think also who I am and what I bring to the table, which is to honor history and learn from it and be able to take the best of and learn really what the core competencies were and make sure that we build on those. I very much believe in strengths-based leadership and investing in strengths.
Yeah.
We know that we get 10 times the outcome on investing in a strength than shoring up a weakness. So I'm all in on that. The transition that was laid so beautifully for me was that we had 2 months where Jerry ran the company and I was able to observe, right? I joke around, but I say this, that I got to see everyone in their native habitat, right? I got to see how things were operating right then and there, and was able to really take that time to get to know people, understand how they were operating and working, what looked like it was working, what wasn't, etc. And I got to really build relationships during that time, especially with my executive team and learning, what was the team that we wanted to create and be a part of participating in, and then crafting and creating that together. I had time to talk with, every board member one-on-one, every staff member one-on-one. So really that time was a huge game changer for me in that. The other piece that I really experienced as a gift was that the board and leadership team had created a strategic plan that I was able to review during our interview process.
Yeah.
So that was an offering to me to be able to execute a plan that I had already bought into and be able to really work with the team then on culture and how can we work best together. We know that the people that serve people, right, they are always going to give more and do more for the client if they themselves are treated as a valued, dignified person, right? That they have a sense of belonging and a sense of being able to contribute in a significant way.
So 2 things out of that, Scott.
There's more than 2.
I want to get your take on this. So I'm hearing that there was a strategic plan that was just already laid out for her as she took over as CEO. And I don't know that I could do that. I think I'd be very challenged if I was not a part of that strategic planning process. That's number one. That's my first thing for you, Scott, to comment on. And second, I love the people part of what she's talking about. And Scott, you and I are big on that. I mean, we talk a lot in just about every podcast how people are the lifeblood of any business. And I think if you take care of your people, they take care of your customers, and they take care of your business. And if you empower them and give them purpose,
And frankly, they stay longer.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Okay, a couple pieces. The first one is on the strategic plan being crafted by a well thought out board and executive committee, being handed to you. Could I do it? Well, as you mentioned, you were part of the interview process, you got to review that. If I bought into it then, I probably could. If I didn't buy into it, I would challenge it in the interview process and say, these 5 things are great, but this one over here, I think we need to tweak that. Can we work on that together? Right? I could probably go about in that direction. But as you said, 31 years, they were doing something right.
Yeah.
So why do I want to just... I'm a big believer in evolution instead of revolution, right? So why would I want to just come in and change things to fit my mold and my image and all of that? There's something to be said about authentic leadership, being true to who you are. However, if you're true to who you are to the fault of the organization, authentic leadership is not the right model if you take it to that extreme. Everything has its good and bad points. So I think that you're wise to accept the strategic plan that they gave you. But next year, we're making a no plan anyway, and year 4, we can start making some adjustments, and I think I know you well enough to say that, you can handle that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm okay with that. As far as the people thing, the part that you missed talking about, because you practice this, is the humility that you display in all of this, right? I know Bonni a little bit. We've had couple lunches and discussions, and besides the energetic personality that you're seeing here, the thing that I found about and intelligence, don't want to forget that, is the humility that's possessed in this frame. So
Thank you.
it's probably the strength that I value as much as any that I'm not as good at. So I like having mentors. So thanks.
Thanks for seeing me.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I heard from that, and Bonni, what I'm hearing from you too, is taking this seek first to understand approach, right? Really a learning CEO approach, right? So it sounds like you came in with an open mind and open arms, open heart, and said, okay, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to understand it better before I'm going to make any changes or do anything like that. I mean, is that accurate?
It's accurate, and I would say that's true about me every day of the week.
Yeah.
I know that no matter where I am, I'm not the smartest person there, but to surround yourself with, people that are open to engaging with you and to be the curious person wanting to know more and to understand more. It's such a great Covey reference. You're absolutely right. It's exactly what it is. I know that the collective wisdom is what is so much more powerful than just me going it alone. So it's, again, I feel like it's my honor to help elevate other people and to make sure that their strengths are maximized and their wisdom.
But at your organization, more than a for-profit business, I think it's even more important, because the type of people that are going to go into work to work at a nonprofit have a different heart.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not about maximizing everyone wants to get paid what they're worth. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But it's not about maximizing paycheck. It's about maximizing impact.
Scott, you are so spot on with that comment. I think another piece that's really unique and special to Working Wardrobes is how mission focused and dedicated our team is. If you talk to every single one of our teammates, they would have the passion about the mission that I do, and that also, in addition to the other pieces about culture, keeps people longer because they're working for a purpose, and that purpose is so much bigger than any of our paychecks will ever be, right? It's literally a higher purpose.
So I'm going to go a little bit deeper in something that was done. This was before you, at a few board member meetings, that this whole concept of providing people dignity, which is what the dignity of a paycheck, I think, is one of the slogans.
The power of a paycheck.
The power of a paycheck,
yeah.
right?
The dignity of work.
The dignity of work. In board meetings, they brought clients in and talked about their story at a board meeting. How many board meetings have you had where you brought your customer in and talked about the transformation of that customer? It was like wow. Talk about living a mission.
Yeah.
Well, and this is like a Simon Sinek concept, right? Starting with why. We start our board meetings with why. Why are we even here? Why did we all show up? Why did we give up dinner time with our families tonight?
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make a difference in the life of a person. Because we know that one life change changes that family. It changes that community. It's the only thing that will ever change the world.
Well, and the only way to connect to it is to hear it from your client. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
It's also, I think, the legacy piece, right? And that's a beautiful homage, if you will, to what our founder created, was making sure that was foremost, forefront, top of everyone's mind. Anything that we do, we always start with clients first. We don't start with the finance report. We always start with a success and what it is that we are here to do.
Well, it's funny that you do bring that up. Now, while I've never brought a client to a board meeting, I am very keen on customer feedback.
Sure.
And we absolutely want the feedback because we believe, I'm in a glass business and we do a glass tile, but what we sell is lifestyle. It's not we're not selling glass, we're selling lifestyle in a lot of different ways, and I could go on and on about that. That being said, that's what we want to hear back. We want to hear the excitement when so I got a client that sent me a picture of their kids splashing around in the pool, and he basically said, I've never had a more beautiful pool in my life. This is amazing. It has changed our lives. So I mean, it seems so simple, like it's a silly. It seems on the surface, it's like it seems like a silly thing because we're just talking about the look of it. But yeah, it's like that. And we shared that with the entire company. So like when I got that email, that went to the entire company. So everybody saw it. From the people that make the glass
not that much different than what they do actually when you think about it.
Totally.
Because you're providing tools for people. It is the people that are going out and doing the thing themselves.
Yeah.
They're getting the job. You're not giving them a job,
No.
right? But you're providing some tools, some glass ornaments, if you will, right? And what they have made out of that, and they'll let you be part of that. It's really cool to hear some of these stories.
Well, when you were saying that, I was thinking, like, what are we selling? And then it was, like, obvious right away. We're selling empowerment. We're empowering people to be able to do more of themselves in a way that they can contribute and elevate.
Well, okay, more than that, the topic is around transition. And as we start to wind up our conversation, I want to point out.
We got to talk about things we said we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
When did we start that?
I want to, listen, I want to bring this back in, and a couple things that I heard that really stood out for me. Even for me, that's just a takeaway for me that I think I can do a lot better. And in transition, as you come into a leadership role and you're transitioning, I think I heard respect. And I think it was respect for the founder, respect for the legacy, respect for the culture, respect for the people. I definitely heard this, I'm going to come in and learn. I'm going to seek first to understand. And so that requires some patience and perseverance to come into a business instead of what Scott said, which is my third big takeaway, which is evolution, not revolution, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not coming in to stir up a hornet's nest. It's no, you know what? I'm going to come in, I'm going to listen. I heard you say earlier, having these one-on-ones with each of the board members, having one-on-ones with each of the employees, all of that is like, okay, I'm going to come in and learn about what it is I'm taking over before I'm going to make any major decisions around here.
And who you're working with.
Totally.
And who you're working with. And I'm sure as I listen to all of that, it's really powerful because I'm sure now things become very clear for you on how you want to add your touch to it and carve your own path and certainly mold any part of that culture now that you know what you're working with.
Oh, you're so spot on, Vince. Culture was number one priority. And absolutely, when we're safe, right? When we're psychologically safe, when we know that we are cared for, that we have a sense of belonging, and that we have something to contribute that is going to be, right, encouraged. We have this, and couple that with this higher purpose, right? That's like this recipe for, long retention of staff, for high impact with our clients, the ability to scale and grow a model that we can maybe we'll go national, maybe not, but that we can help more people. That's what it's all about.
Yep. I hear
so
that.
I'm hearing buzzwords, and as I'm sitting here laughing because I'm finishing up a book, my first book right now, and you have said so many of the phrases that I've written about.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Psychological safety is a big portion of that.
Yeah.
The term, you use the word equity, not equality. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, what's fair is not equal.
It's just not.
Yeah.
And for years we fought for equality. No, that's not what we wanted. We wanted equity, what you need versus what equal for all, right? It's just a wonderful way of going about your business. So you've practiced a lot of the leadership techniques and processes that I believe in. You do a few.
And I didn't even read the book yet.
You do a few of them better than I do. I'm just saying.
Oh, Scott, thank you.
Right now, again, going back to that humility piece, I really need to just pay more attention to you.
Oh my goodness.
Well, so Bonni, as we wrap up our conversation, and I'm sure we could, as with many of our conversations with guests, we can spend hours. We try to keep within 20 to 30 minutes for our listeners. That being said, one tradition that we have on the podcast is we like to leave our listeners with some nuggets, right? Some stuff that they can really take away. And so in your own experience in a leadership role and how you've transitioned in this legacy business, what advice? I mean, if there's one or two things or three things that you're like, hey, this is what you absolutely must do, as a leader, especially if you're coming into a new organization.
I think the first for me is just one, stay who you are, know who you are and be that. Number two would be, you've really summarized it quite well, Vince, which is get to know everyone, understand your assets, get to know the people. The people are your key to success. You cannot do it alone. You are only operating through other people. So it is incredibly important that you prioritize the people. And third, I would say, again, you summarized this so well, which is to seek to understand, not to try to insert yourself and create something right away, but be, an observer, a curious fact finder, a willing participant in whatever is the ritual or the way of being. It's okay to judge quietly, but just try to get your head around it so that you can have that sort of emotional intelligence quotient where you can say, like, I can understand what the shoes are that the people that work here have been standing in and become a part of it and then change it within.
Love that. That was good. Hey, she said authenticity, Scott.
I listen.
Is that in the book too?
I think almost everything about being an authentic leader is right.
Yeah.
But when you take it to a fault and say,
too far.
It's who I am. That's what we're doing, no matter what. By yourself. That's where the fallacy comes in. So the authentic leader is very similar to the transformational leader, and there's others, the facilitative leader. All those, and they transition to each other, right? The one thing that I know you're not is the command and control leader.
No.
And even though you involve others, it's still not a democracy. Eventually, you need to be responsible for the decisions that you're going to make, and I think you've got that right. So go ahead.
We go far though, and when you go alone, you go quickly, right? But you can go far when you go with each other, and I think that's the investment I make is let's do it together, let's create it together.
I saw analysis the other day. It was interesting. It was football analysis, where Pete Carroll, when he first came into USC, he took the leader of the offense, Carson Palmer, and the leader of the defense, Troy Polamalu, and said, "Okay, get your best 11 guys," and they did a tug of war, and it didn't budge, right? Because big guys here, big guys there. And what did we learn? That we're pulling different directions. We're not going very far. So getting people to pull in the same direction is the key there. And I thought that was brilliant. Nobody wins a tug of war.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Beautiful.
So this has been fun. I'm really glad that we got you here.
Me too. Thanks for creating this resource for all of us. What a support mechanism to be able to go for a walk or have a minute and just really be nourished by other people kind of grappling with these same topics.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's what we try to do. Those are the discussions we like to have. Well, spend a minute, Bonni, on telling people how they can find out more about Working Wardrobes. So, how do they get in touch? What can they do if they want to help? What can they do to help?
Yes. Oh, thank you for that invitation. Well, Working Wardrobes, and it's plural, workingwardrobes.org is our website. You can see anything that you want to know about there. We're, of course, on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube. We would love your help in whatever way you would like to give your gifts. So maybe it's volunteering as a coach or a personal shopper or a retail store assistant or whatever. Maybe it is coming and donating your clothes. We accept clean clothes on the hanger Tuesdays through Saturdays at our donation center in Irvine. It's not just professional wear. If it's not professional wear, we can sell it in our resale stores. So please make sure you donate your clothes to us. Relationships and connections. We are always looking for doors to open. Interesting, not everybody knows that a lot of the product we sell in our resale shops is actually not donated by individual donors, but is actually donated by retailers.
Organizations, yeah.
Exactly. If you have a company and you would like to sponsor what we are doing, we would so invite and appreciate your financial help. That means putting your name with ours and saying, we're going to change the world together. We're going to empower people, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to go up the pipeline and empower people with the tools and resources to help themselves. If you have jobs, we would love to partner with you so that we can share your jobs with our clients. And if you would like, we can partner with you even earlier in that process. Let us know what you need, and maybe there's a training that you offer that we can provide to our clients and help get them ready. There's really no end to the way that you can help this organization, because really it takes every single one of us embracing our power to make a difference in the world. So I invite you to change it with us.
Well, I assume so. If they're interested in any of that, they can find out that information on your website.
Totally.
Yeah, workingwardrobes.org.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Great. So we'll have to make sure we post that up on.
And if you didn't catch it, get in touch with us. We can get you in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen.
As always, we thank everybody for listening. You can catch us on YouTube if you like to watch, or just listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any of the other channels that you can find podcasts. And we appreciate listening. As always, we want your feedback, so please reach out to Scott and Vince at Gmail and let us know what you're looking to hear about. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the CEO Podcast. Please visit us at theceopodcast.net, where you can learn more about our co-hosts and listen to past episodes. If you would like to have a discussion and dive deeper into any topic, there is also an option to contact Scott or Vince to schedule some time with them. Thanks for listening.